It's Vlogmas in July, day 2, 2020. So welcome to Vlogmas in July 2020. We're actually on day 2, and since it's a Thursday, this is going to be the first Throwback Thursday edition of Vlogmas in July. For this series, we're going to take a look at a few free motion quilting videos that I have made. And these videos are all focused on my bow tie quilt. And I show in the series, I show different patterns that I've kind of made to fill up that quilt. I'll put a picture of that quilt here, and then I'll lead you on to the video. This is the very first video in the series where I talk about stitching in the ditch. So I hope that you enjoy it. Please thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye. This is my bow tie quilt that I've been working on for a little while now. You probably have already seen some videos on it. What I'm going to be doing with this quilt is using all of this white space to practice free motion quilting. So we're starting with Quilt-in-the-Ditch. And so I'm going to zoom a little closer so you can see specifically what I'm talking about. When you have a seam, there is usually a higher part of that seam and a lower part. So if we take this part right here, this seam here, the higher part is probably the darker fabric, and the lower part is right at the edge there where the white is. And so that's what we're talking about when we talk about stitching in a ditch. And you can see just a tiny bit of seaming there along that line. Okay, and I've chosen to do that all around these bow ties. And so that is pretty much where we're starting. What I've done is, for each row, there's a certain way that I've seamed so I don't have to break thread. So I'm just going to show you. I start here and then go up, over, okay, and then you see, and so I go along the bow tie each way and down, and then go to the next one, and so on. And then you do that all the way down to the end of the row. And then when I got to the end of the row, I would just go down and then go under each bow tie in the same row. So I'm just tracing it right now with my fingers so that you can see it. But then once it's on the sewing machine, hopefully you'll see more clearly what I'm talking about. And for this one, I've started in the middle of the quilt. So I started here with this one, and then I quilted all the way down, and then I turned it around and started with this block. And so that's kind of where I am now. So I'm going to show you how I set up my machine, and then we'll get started. Here's my basic setup for my machine. I really don't do anything special for my free motion quilting. I'm using a Singer Futura, and it's like a CE 100 or something. It's the really old one. And so all I've done that's really different is I have put this is the actual embroidery foot that came with the machine. I don't have the open toe quilting foot, so I'm just using that because it kind of gives the same effect. It holds the fabric down and bounces a little bit to make the stitches. The only other things that I have my bobbin thread, and I'm actually using this gray as my bobbin thread because it blends nicely with the back fabric here, and so it's going to blend nicely. And if I show you the back of the quilt, you can't even tell the difference. And then for the top, I'm actually using a thread that's the color of the off-white, and this is Coats, and it's mercurized cotton. It's 100% cotton. Okay, and so you can see that color. It's like an off-white, but it matches the background fabric perfectly. So I didn't, a lot of people lower their feed dogs, but if you look closely, my feed dogs are up. I don't lower mine because it really messes with the tension. I haven't really changed the tension on here. I didn't change the stitch length. I didn't do anything. So I'm just going to get ready to sew. And then the only other material are, these are some Fons and Porter quilting gloves that I have. And they are, I got them, they were like $3. They're probably not the best, but I think they're a good thing just to learn, and they do have the grippy side. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the quilt under the machine, and we'll start stitching. So I've never done this on camera. I'm a little nervous, but it'll be all right. So what I'm going to do is I've spread this quilt out over my big kitchen table so that I won't have as much drag. It won't be so heavy as I'm moving it back and forth. Alright, and now all I'm going to do is, I have my gloves on. First I'm going to bring the thread up to the top, bring the bobbin thread up, and all I've done is drop the needle, lifted it up, and then brought the thread up to the top. I don't always do this, but I'm doing it now. It helps me remember where I need to, it's an easy reminder of where the threads need to be. Push back in there, moving my pins. I had pins there to remind me which direction to go. So I'm going to be starting going to the left. Move the camera. I'm actually going to be quilting to the left first, just to keep my direction. And so I'm going to be going left and then down and so on around till I finish this row. So I guess the main thing that you remember is they say fast feet and slow hands, I guess. So here we go. I lock the stitches. And then I just kind of move the fabric. I need to put my thread back down. I forgot to put that down. Okay, and so I only stop to reposition my hands. I kind of have my hands, I don't know, about, I guess about a hand width apart as I stitch. And then just move it. And of course it doesn't always go perfectly in the ditch. And that's okay, because I'm going to actually, this quilt is actually going to be a free motion sampler for me, so I'm going to try lots of different stitches in this backspace. So I just stop for a second to reposition my hands, and then I'm just moving the fabric over, and then I try to stop in the corner. And so now I'm going to be pushing the thread up through the I'll be pushing the fabric up through the machine. And then I'll stop to pivot. And from here I might just turn it a little bit, so I can either turn the fabric so that it's this way, or I can just kind of go sideways. And that's one good thing about this, is that you get to practice moving your fabric at all different angles. I'm going to stop, drop my needle. Every time you stop, you do need to drop that needle to maintain your position. And then reposition my hands, and here I go again. And then again here I can either turn the fabric or I can just go sideways. And this is why this could have been done without free motion, like with a walking foot, but I didn't want to have to spend the time turning the fabric for every, 2.5 inches or so. I think it's a little faster this way. Okay, and now I'll have this long portion that I'll be pushing the fabric through the machine and then probably going back to the left. Stop for a second, reposition my hands and move the fabric a little bit, and then in here you can really see an area where I didn't match my seams as well. It's not going to matter that much. Once everything is quilted, you won't be able to, it won't be a big deal. Alright, so now I'm going to start moving my fabric to the right to cover this portion to the left. Position my hands again. Just kind of smooth the fabric out, and it's just kind of slow and go like this until it's all done. So, and I try to keep it consistent, but it's not gonna always be consistent and perfect. And I still consider myself a beginner free motion quilter, and I've never done anything like this before. Stitching a straight line with free motion, I've never done that before. So, and now the same process, we go down for the next block. And I'll do another one on camera, and then we'll take it off and show you, hopefully. Alright, and then here we're going diagonal and then across again. So I'll just kind of push it, I'm kind of pushing the fabric diagonally up to the left. And I hope that you can see clearly what I'm doing with this white thread. I know it's going to be a little bit tough, but the thread really blends in with my project. So, and of course, when you're working on your own projects, hopefully you can decide if you want to do a coordinating thread that blends with your fabric, or if you want to do something contrasting. And with this, I just know I want to use the white thread for the top and the gray thread for the bottom. And so see, if you look at it one at a time, each individual block doesn't really take very long. Okay, now I'm going to stop, drop my needle, and then kind of move my fabric through a little bit. Once it gets too, you kind of will feel when it gets too cumbersome for you. And you'll also have to decide what speed you work the best at. And it varies from person to person. Okay. And now, I usually don't like to take, well, I take my pins out as I go, so I haven't taken them all out, but since this one is going to be right in the way, I'll just move it out of the way. Then, here we go again. And so this will be finishing up 2 bow ties. When I get to the end, since I want to stop here, I'm just gonna move back and forth in the same spot to lock that stitch. I'm going to pull the thread out just a little bit so that I can cut it. And so I'll cut it here and then underneath. And now I'm going to pull the thread from the bottom, just pull it up. Okay. And then like that. So that when I come back to sew, I'll know exactly where to start. And I'm going to put 2 pins here so I know both where to start and the direction that I was going in. Alright, so now I'm going to move this away from the machine so that you can see the exact stitches. So these are the 2 blocks that we just finished. I want to zoom in, I guess, and see if we can see some of the stitches closely. I'm not 100% sure we'll be able to do that because of the color of the thread, but this is the last little part that we did. We came around, down, and over here, and this is where we stopped. One cool thing about this quilt is that you can really tell I have about 2 more rows to go. But as I go around, I hope you can tell the difference between the ones that I did, because they have a little kind of puffy quality, and then these are the ones that I haven't done, and you can see how flat they look. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. Thanks for watching my video about Quilt-in-the-Ditch. I'm going to be working on free motion quilting this entire quilt, so I'd love for you to join me with that. If you have any questions about what I've done this time, please leave them below. Thumbs up the video, and don't forget to check out my blog. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.